Okay, Ruben is not on. So maybe if it's okay, we can actually just type, just to say what your background is. I see some new names, so it would be great to just type in the chat which fellow and which site you're from, and a little bit of your background so that everyone can get to know you better. We will upload everyone's details on the website in due course with your pictures and a bit of biography, but please, you're welcome to type so that we also can move. I think Ruben might not be able to speak, I'm not sure. Great. So I think the main purpose of this session is really to kind of meet everyone and discuss how we can work together on the condition that although you are contracted as consultants through the SADC grant, your main point of reference and core is your PI at your site and your team at the site. We just want to make that clear that you are not reporting directly to us. We might, need assistance from you, but please do CC your PI and your team and liaise with them directly before you liaise with us. So maybe while the fellows are typing out who they are and a bit of their background, we can also hear from members on the team who would like to introduce themselves. I know we've got some representatives from CC. So we are the Data Coordinating Center, and then we've got a Clinical Coordinating Center in Tanzania, and we work closely together. So may I please ask CC members to introduce themselves? I see Josephine is online and Upendo.
Hey everyone, so my name is Upendo Masam. I'm Research and Data Coordinator at Clinical Coordinating Center.
Great, thank you, Upendo, and welcome, Josephine.
Hi everyone. My name is Josephine Ngaya, and I coordinate standards of care and skills development from Sparkle Clinical Coordinating Center. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josephine. I think we also have one PI online, Prof. Gindo, who's leading the malaria chemoprophylaxis. Welcome, Prof. I think you're the only PI represented today. Thank you. Great. So maybe we can start. As we mentioned, the main purpose is really to get to know each other and to discuss how we can move forward in understanding the research projects and also aligning whatever discussions we have with the CC. Because I think they are also planning a range of activities which we collaborate on. So I will just start by giving a very brief overview. At the end of this session, Paida and Teboho will also give more detail on some of the roles we're hoping we could discuss further with the team. So this is the SickleIAfrica Coordinating Center here in South Africa. We coordinate sites in the various countries indicated with phase 1 sites in bold and phase 2 sites in a checked pattern. So it seems we're well represented today. And as our name suggests, we only try and help coordinate. And this is part of the team that we work with. On this slide, we've just added new consultancies. We've got Prof. Emmanuel Pepra, who is our implementation research consultant, and also Agre Samer from Uganda, who is also our implementation research consultant. Andre Pascal, you can Google him. He's very well known in the epidemiology field. He is our consultant and very hands-on in epidemiological data analysis. And Professor Lashley is in charge of the SickleINAfrica biorepository in Nigeria. Obviously, our PI is Professor Ambrose, and Nikki Mulder is also the co-PI. And we also have a number of consultancies who are shown there, and they are also on our website. And today, we are lucky to have Annemie Stewart, who's got a lot of experience in coordinating and managing clinical trials in RedCap, and is also an EDGE consultant, and she'll be talking mainly about the EDGE platform today. So this is the team. I think Mario has already indicated some of the personnel here. This is the main SADC team, and the fellows are indicated in green there at the bottom. We've got Athmon, who's just joined the team. He's going to be in charge of data and data quality assurance processes. He's just finished his PhD, but he was actually a data manager at the Witwatersrand University for many years before he started his PhD with us, and he's just submitted. We've got Jade, who's working on the sickle cell disease ontology, Chandra on the biorepository. We've got Wilson working on mHealth, and he also does some development on the database. We also have Jack, who is going to be supporting with data analytics. Our whole ethos is that we kind of support and coordinate. We do not want to do most of the stuff for the sites, but more to facilitate, support, and build capacity. So even in the first instance, if Jack would do like preliminary analysis in the beginning for a week or two, after that, we are hoping that each site will do its own analysis, and then he just cross-checks or validates so that we're just more supporting and building capacity. We also have Nchankwi, who's our LC coordinator, and Mario. And we've got developers, we've got a media consultant who's going to be joining us soon, and Paida, who you've received a lot of emails from. She's our project coordinator, and you'll also be hearing a lot from Kita, who's our coordinator for admin, for the administration department. So basically, our schema in terms of data management is that we support the LC, we support standardization and use of standard operating procedures. We also support research studies along the entire research cycle, together with the clinical coordinating center. And we've developed standardized data elements together with the consortium, really based on the sickle cell disease ontology, and we use RedCap for this. I think a lot of these aspects I will not really go into depth with, because a lot of members here already even more competent and more experienced in some of these areas. And we've got a dashboard, and also Chandra will be in touch in due course as she's working on implementing a pilot biorepository where biospecimen will be sent to the SickleINAfrica biobanks. As you might be aware from your site, that the first study, which is bound to be starting quite soon, is the newborn screening study, followed by malaria chemoprophylaxis. And because we're the data coordinating center, we really want to strengthen the tracking of key indicators of how well our research is going, of storage and backups, of data quality, information system technologies. Everyone is, so that we make sure everyone is fully on board on that, and security and privacy. And I think we're going to make this as a knowledge transfer process as much as possible, so that we also learn from what works for you at sites. And just to reiterate that, fellows, you can communicate with us, but please, your first line of contact is your PI and your teams, and you can CC us once you have discussed with your PIs, as they are your line managers, and we're just here to support, and hopefully you can also facilitate that the data quality and data management is strengthened. And as described earlier, some of our key areas for the research studies is to support, the data and information quality, SOAPs, data transfers, communication, study monitoring, especially for adverse events, and data analytics. And the research management platforms, we've got a manuscript development process or tool that's available on our website, and an events management platform as well. But central to all this is the Edge platform that we would like, or we had proposed and agreed with the consortium that we would adopt. And the great thing about Edge is that it's compliant to a lot of clinical trials, data management requirements. So even if we're not really running clinical trials, I think it's a great platform to know and to use at your own sites. We also will be talking a lot about the Baobab Leaf system and the Red Cap, and I haven't included the data transfer tools and processes because Mario is going to talk to you about that. So the suggestion for the Edge platform is that the Nigeria team, or whatever team is in charge or is leading that research project, will actually be really in charge of managing the Edge platform with support from SADC and from CC. And each of the sites will have a primary sites based on the country, and then each site can also have satellite sites. But what we are hoping and proposing is that the fellows would then be responsible for managing the documents at the primary sites, and also managing addition of personnel to those sites. But of course, this needs to be discussed with your team. There might be somebody else that the team will be able to do that. That's fine, but we just wanted to make sure that we've got one point person who we can actually get onto the platform, and who will be responsible for adding documents, for adding personnel, and adding subsites, which Annemie will be doing for us today. So in terms of newborn screening, what we were hoping today was maybe have a centralized place where we've got all the latest version of the protocols, the latest version of the SOAPs, or the IRB submissions and responses, each site's IRB queries and responses, the final protocols and SOAPs per site, including the translated versions, IRB approvals, and any templates. And to start off with, we thought maybe as a task for each person, because what has been happening with these protocols is that we've had teams come in, develop protocols. We've had teams who are going to do the training, which is being managed by the CC, but we would like a template which actually clearly outlines who the site personnel are, the contacts, and the delegation of the roles for each of those people in a document, which can be done after this meeting, but we're hoping that after this meeting, then people can go do that and then load it onto Edge. And also how to add satellites to Edge, the recruitment logs for patients with some detail, so that we can do some quality assurance processes based on the recruitment logs and based on what we have in Red Cap. Later on, we're going to add, quality reports, consent forms, and so on. And one of the questions we were going to pose to the team is whether we could have weekly meetings so that these align to some of the activities that CC is running in terms of training, but also for us to get moving in terms of being comfortable with the platforms and with some of the data processes that we're going to be working on. So just here, because this is a proposal, is maybe to have weekly meetings until everyone is on board and everyone is happy with the platforms and everyone is comfortable, and have tasks that people can do. But these meetings can then taper off as the project is now running smoothly, as we are more aware of what's going on and we are comfortable with our communications and so on. So I think this is just a proposal and it's open for discussion. I will hand over to Mario to kind of go through the data transfer processes before Annemie goes into Edge. But we welcome questions on the chat platform, on the chat, so that we can address them maybe after Mario has presented, just for us to save up on time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll try to be brief. So at the end of this presentation, I'd like people to ideally be familiar with what the backup options are, and then also what the data transfer options are. So ideally, information will flow from sites to via these methods to where we are. So you can add encryption to your data if needs be. You can upload it. We can give us a download link. We can have rsync is a tool that Ubuntu uses to get your data, also via API. Vicky has asked me to talk more in detail about how the API would work and do a quick demo. But I think for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that now. We can do it at a follow-up meeting. The other option is Nextcloud, which is a cloud solution, a web interface solution, which then ideally will be transferred, all the information will be transferred and stored here. So the blue arrow also then indicates that as you upload data to us, ideally you'll be able to access your data via these methods, via the API of Nextcloud. So the red, just to highlight, the red is a data flow from sites to SADC in Cape Town, and the blue arrow is the data flow from SADC to your site. So one of the options, so we've got several, if I can step back. So these two devices, Synology devices, can be accessed via the web, or you can download an application to access that. So you'll be installing it. You'll be able to select, do you want to sync data from your computer to where the storage is, or do you want to create an initial backup task? I'm going to go rather quickly through this, but we can follow up and talk about it more as time goes by. So you can then also schedule. Do you want to do weekly updates or once a day, etc.? The client, when you download this piece of software on your laptop or your desktop, that allows you to do this, follow this process. So then it indicates that you're backing up. So this is just an indication the first time you do a backup. So subsequent to this, if depending on your frequency, whether it be daily or weekly, it will back up files that have changed, not the whole data set. So there's also a web login. So you go to the website. I've deleted the specific website link. You'll be given it. Sorry, for security purposes, I've deleted this. Once you have an account, you'll be given this link that you follow. You can log in. Once you've logged in, you have this interface that allows you to create folders, upload data. So here you can, so here's a folder created. You can create a folder, as you can see with this button here, create folder. You can upload files. You can upload, as you upload data, you can, if there's already, if you're uploading data that you've uploaded before, you can either skip the file that is already there, or you can overwrite files if you have a newer one. So at the bottom, let me just quickly go back. So at the bottom, There are SOPs, the links to the SOPs for how to do this. So this is for the client that you download. This is for the web interface. I'm going quickly. I've got a minute left. So here is just an indication that, I've created a file, I've uploaded it. The other backup option is this web interface called Nextcloud. It's a cloud solution. We currently have, let's see, 120, what's that, 128 plus 170. So it's about 290, about 300 terabytes worth of data storage. Not all of that's available for the consortium, but there's a big chunk of it. So this allows you to back up data, access data, as I've shown in that flow chart, flow diagram of how the data will flow. So allows you to log in. Once you've logged in, you have a bunch of, for me, this is my interface that I see. But depending on the permissions you have, you will see limited amounts of options. So Nigeria has already uploaded some of their data, and this is shared to them specifically. They can upload and download as they see fit. So they've already done that. So these are the folders for the other sites as we go on. Okay, that is my indication that my time is up, but let me just finish. I've got one more slide. Okay. Okay, that one more slide was the thank you note. So thank you very much. Any questions, please just mail me or just type in the chat box. Thank you very much, Vicky. Over to you.
Great, thank you, Mario. So as you're aware, backing up and transfer are key items of the data management process. And we thought he can just give you a very quick, introduction to that, and go into detail a little bit later. So I think we still welcome questions. You can chat in the chat box. Otherwise, we'll hand over to Annemie to start with the presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Annemie. I'm from the University of Cape Town, and I'm helping the SADC team with certain aspects around REDCap and EDGE. So the reason the team asked me to talk about EDGE today is that we want to use it as a project management platform for all of the research studies. So those 4 research protocols that Vicky showed, the idea is that all of them be managed in the EDGE system. So my understanding is that the first project that is going to start is the newborn screening project. So I hope all of the new fellows have been introduced to this project already. But if not, I will show you where I'm uploading the protocol, and then you can have a look at that. So I'm aware that not everybody has got EDGE access yet. So if you don't, then what you can do is just email Pida after the session and let her know your email address to use. So the first thing to know about EDGE is that it is a system that is typically used for clinical trials. And I think Vicky mentioned that it therefore has to be compliant with a whole bunch of regulatory requirements in terms of how the system is used. It must have an audit trail, users must be identifiable, that sort of thing. So that it can be used for clinical trials. And one of the consequences of that is that you can only use EDGE if you have an institutional email address, or like maybe an email address from your internet service provider in your country, but not a Yahoo or a Gmail address, unfortunately. So if you have any other email address that you can provide us, then please send us that after the meeting if you don't have access to EDGE yet, and then we will use that to sign you up. Okay, so I'm gonna switch off my video, and then I'm gonna share my screen if Mario can allow me to be a presenter. That would be great. So, okay, so everybody can see my screen now, I hope. The first thing, of course, is logging into the platform. So there's obviously a designated URL, and like I said, you need a non-Yahoo or a non-Gmail email address in order to access the system. And then you will be able to get a verification email and you'll be able to log into the system. Okay, sorry, my computer is a little bit slow. Okay, so when you log into Edge for the first time, I just want to point out some key things about the navigation. The first thing is at the top here, you have a menu bar, and that menu bar stays the same wherever you are in the system. So you can always quickly go back to home page, for example, if you need to. And then on the left-hand bar, there will also be a different menu bar, and this menu bar will change depending on where you are in the system. So just keep your eye on that as we go through the system. Obviously, the first thing that you will want to see when you log in is projects, because that's what we're here for, right? It's for project management. So when I click on projects, then you will see I've already created the newborn screening project here. And it has all the sites listed on the right-hand side. So because Edge was developed for clinical trials, it was developed with this perspective of multi-site projects, which is very fortunate for us because that's exactly the kind of projects that we're going to be doing in this consortium. So for that reason, you've got two levels within each project. The one is the project level, and that is the level that is the same for all the sites. So that is like the protocol level. Okay, and then you have the site level where we're going to have information about the specific sites that are different for each site. So we'll get to that. So let me just show you. First of all, we're going to click on the name of the project, and then we're going to go into the project level. Now you'll see that the icons up here and on the left down here have a green color, and that's how you know that you're on the project level. Okay. So on the project level, there you see there's a whole bunch of menu items down here, but the first one says overview, and this is the kind of information you see. This is high level information about the project that applies to everyone. Okay, so you'll see some information here. You'll see who is the overall PI for the project. And you'll see on the side we indicated who's the lead. So this country will match who is the overall PI for the project. And we've said things like it can be male and female participants, that sort of thing. So this is the information that doesn't change across the sites. Then you have another tab that says sites, which now you can see all the sites that are listed. You'll see that each site has its own status, and we're going to get into a bit more detail of the sites later. Staff, this is everybody who has access to the project in Edge. You'll be able to see them here. And then documents. So documents is the bit where I want to stand still for now, because this is a big thing to get under control, is the document management for the project. So the idea is, as I understand it, is that the fellow for each site is going to take primary ownership of managing the documents for their site, and that the fellow for the leading site, so the site where the principal investigator is based, okay, that person is going to take overall responsibility for the management of the project level documents in Edge. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I mean that we must upload the documents in this folder so that everybody in the study can be using the same version of the documents. For example, here's the protocol, but this is an old version. Okay, look at the date on this version. And then what Edge does is it allows you to actually upload a revision of the same document. So instead of uploading a new document, I'm going to upload a document that is a revision, and I will give it a new version so that we always see the most recent version on top. Okay, so I'm going to briefly stop sharing that because I want to draw your attention to an SOP that explains how we should be doing the document management and versioning. Okay. Right, so you guys can see this now. There's an SOP called writing and versioning of documents. Okay, so as the fellow at your site, please can you take control of this at your site and make sure that we follow the versioning conventions that are listed in this document. I just want to show you the basics because this is like a summary of how you do it. So you're going to give it a name, for example, newborn screening protocol. You're going to say it's draft, and then you're going to give it a version number and a date. And that's basically how it works. So this is the file name. The whole file name looks like this. And it can be like .docx if it's a Word document. And the idea is that once there is the published version, then we call it 1.0, and all the other versions up to there start with 0. So it can go to 0.19, 0.20, 0.21, that's fine, until we have an approved version, and then we call it a published version, and we give it the number 0.0. So the first approved version will be 1.0. And if there's later protocol changes, once it's approved by the NIH, it will be called published version 2.0. Okay, so right now, if I can go back. Okay, let me actually, I want to post the link to this SOP for you guys so that you can go ahead and download it. So let me just put that in the chat. Okay, so you guys download that and then you can keep it open as I go if you want. So we can all look at the same thing. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to Edge. Where's my Edge? Okay. Right, so here we have protocol. We have its version 0.2. The naming convention here is not correct, but let's just look at this, the 0.2 with a date, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm now going to upload a new version. The version that I want to upload is the approved version. Okay. So it's 1.0. And it is dated 10th of December. I'm remembering this now, okay? So, sorry, I'm just looking for it quickly. Okay, and then I'm going to say finished. Okay, and now the document that I uploaded is sitting on top. So I can no longer see the one that Jack has uploaded, but it's not gone. It's just sitting behind. So what I can do is I can click on the revisions over here, and then I can see the different versions again. So it's never lost. It's just a clean way of working and making sure that you're working on the latest version of the document. Okay, so when I say that the fellow later on in the wording, if I say that the fellows are going to upload something to Edge, this is what I mean. They're going to come in here in the documents section of the study, and they're going to upload either a document here or within one of the subfolders. Okay, so that was the protocol. And then the protocol is the same for everyone. And then obviously the SOPs is also going to be similar to everyone. So the SOPs, I'm going to give it the same date as the protocol. Oops. I should have done it here. Okay. So those two documents are going to be the same for everyone. But when you open the SOPs document, you're going to see that actually it's a list of a whole bunch of SOPs. And it also includes things like the questions that you're going to ask participants in the study. And it includes the informed consent forms. So some of these need to be adapted to your local site. For example, there may be some extra things that your IRB requires to be in the consent form that you need to add, or you may need to translate the whole consent form in order to use it at your site. So what we're then asking is that the fellow for each site is going to come into the subfolder for translations, and they're going to upload their version of the consent form, the way they're going to use it here. And they're going to say ICF Ghana, ICF Uganda, that sort of thing. And then again, it must be based on, must have a version and a date. Okay, so the navigation is quite intuitive. You can actually go back to root here. And then the same as with the translations, each site is going to have their own ethics or IRB documentation. So the approval for each site, for example, we're going to ask that the fellow comes and uploads that here, and then it's going to be like IRB approval Ghana, IRB approval Uganda, that sort of thing, because that's going to be different for each site. But then within the root directory, just under project documents is going to be the protocol and the SOP. So these two don't change, but then all the other variations of the forms, for example, will go into the subfolders. Okay, maybe I should just pause here briefly for questions. I hope I haven't confused you guys too much so far. Are there any pressing questions at this point? No one? Okay, that's fine. Let me show you what else Edge can do, and then you'll probably have some more questions at the end. Okay, the other thing that Edge can do for us in terms of project management is that it uses workflows. Okay, so workflows in Edge are a way of keeping track of a process that has a series of steps that need to be completed. What do I mean? For example, a workflow that we typically use in Edge would be something where you track, for example, the study startup progress. So you track that you have all the things in place before you start the study. So I've created an example workflow here, and it's not the final workflow. It's still going to be tweaked a bit, but just bear with me. This is just an example. So you're going to say add workflow, and you're going to use this one that says study startup, and you're going to say save. And then it immediately takes you to workflow tasks, because remember I had one workflow called study startup, but when I go into the workflow, I've got workflow tasks. So these are all the steps now. And the idea is also that the fellow in the lead country for the research protocol will keep track of the study startup progress for us. So this is just an example. So the first one could say the protocol is final, has a final version of the protocol being agreed, and this is among the site PIs. Then that needs to be approved by the NIH. Then the protocol and the SOPs need to be uploaded in Edge. Then all the sites need to have the IRB approval. In the case of the newborn screening, for example, we want to make sure that sites have all the lab kits or consumables or supplies that they need at their sites. We want to make sure that their CRFs are available. We want to make sure that we have identified the staff that are going to work on the study specifically, and this is what Vicky was talking about. So we want to make sure that we know who's going to coordinate the project from each site's perspective, and who's going to do some other roles from each site. But we're going to provide a template for recording this. And this is done per study, per site, please. And then the fellow can upload it to Edge. Then, of course, all the site staff that have been identified need to be trained, and they have to sign a training log to say that they've been trained, or they have done self-training, whatever the case may be. And then we also have to make sure that we have facility level approval at all the hospitals or clinics or other facilities where recruitment will take place. So the way that you do the way that you tick off the workflow tasks, you're going to see this one, and then you're going to use the little pencil, you're going to say edit. And when you edit a workflow task, you'll see that it gives you now a little bit more information. So these two things were displayed on the first page, and now it actually lists a bit more information about what the procedure is. It says all the site PIs have agreed on the version of the protocol. So that means everybody's given their comments, that sort of thing. Okay, then you're going to tick completed, and then you're going to give it a date. So in this case, it was actually, I think, exactly a year ago. And then you're going to say, so whenever you tick completed, you must give a date. I'm going to say save. And now it shows saved. And then has the protocol been approved by NIH? And say yes. And then that is the version that was approved, which we just said was the 10th of December.
Annemie,
And now,
sorry, man, do you prefer questions during the session or afterwards?
you can go ahead and ask questions. I don't mind.
Sure, because there's one question from Takudwa. So who can create the workflow? As in, who's given the rights to create that workflow?
Okay, I'm going to get to that. There will be one main admin per site. I'm talking SPOCO sites now, and those people will be able to set up new workflows if need be. But the how to set up new workflows, I'm going to get to in another session, okay? Right, so then the next step here was the protocol, and the SOPs should be uploaded in Edge. So this is what I just did today, remember? So I'm going to put today's date. And that is how far I am. This is the information I have now. So now if I go back to the workflow, it will show me that I've actually made 33% progress so far. So that's a way of seeing how far you are from actually starting up. It's not to say that all the tasks take the same amount of time. So I know it's not very precise, but it is one way of keeping track. So eventually all of these things should be ticked off before you enroll the first patient on the research study. Okay, so that was workflows. Now, one of the main things that the local admins are going to have to help with is this bit of creating new users that need access to Edge. Okay. Remember now, it can only be proper email addresses, so not Gmails and Yahoos, but another kind of email address. So either an institutional email or an email address from your internet service provider, for example. So in South Africa, we have a service provider called MWeb. So some people might not have a UCT email address, but they might have an MWeb address, and that will be okay for Edge. So the user management bit is going to be mainly left up to the either the fellow or the coordinator at each site, or both. I think each site must decide how they want to do that. But either way, I'm going to show you guys how to create a new user. Is there anyone currently in the room who has an institutional email but doesn't have access to Edge? Then I can add you as an example. How's that? Do you want to just type it for me briefly in the chat? Anyone? Maybe one of the new people? Okay. Mario, will you keep an eye for me on the chat? Okay, so what you would do when you have to add a brand new person to Edge, you are going to have to start at the management tab at the top. Okay, so you're going to start there. You'll see these are all the people that already have access to Edge. So first of all, you're going to search for that person to make sure that they, they're not there already. And then you will be able to if they're not there already, you're going to be able
Annemie.
to add a new user. Yeah.
Annemie. So Arthur has provided his
Okay.
UCT address.
So let's see if we use that. Okay, let's first see Arthur, because I'm suspicious that he might be there already. Okay, he's there already. Okay, you know what, Arthur, I'm going to delete him and just add him again. Okay. Okay, so pretend you didn't see that. And we were searching for Arthur and nothing came up. Okay, then we're going to say add a new user. And now you must give at least a name, a surname, and an email address. That's the bare minimum that you must give in order to create a new user. Okay. A name, surname, and email address. Okay. You see, there's a whole bunch of other fields. It's not necessary to fill that in order to create the user, because each user can edit their own profile after it's been created. Okay, so I'm going to say save. So now Arthur has been created in Edge, but Arthur does not have a login yet. So we need to create a login for him. We're going to say add. We're going to say use that email address. It becomes his username. We're going to tick password doesn't expire because it's super annoying when it expires every 30 days. And then we're going to say save. Okay, so now he will get an authentication email that he has to click before he'll be able to get in. If someone didn't get the authentication email, you can also come in here and resend that email. Okay, so let's add one more person. So if we go back to users, we're going to add Musa from Mali. Okay, so let's just first search and make sure. Okay, so Musa's not there. Then I'm going to say add new user. I must give at least a name and a surname. I take it this is the surname and an email. Okay, that's the bare minimum, 3 things. Save. So now exists in Edge, but I need to add the login as well, which is there. Password never expires, and save. Okay. So now you will see here that it did actually create an email to Musa, and it says Musa has not yet authorized this email, and it even tells you the date on which it was sent. Okay. Once a person exists in Edge now, whether or not they have authorized their login, you can now add them to your project. Okay, so remember this was all under management. So now let's pretend I'm the fellow for the newborn screening project in Nigeria. And I now have to add someone to the project that I just created. So say I want to add Musa now. So Musa is from Mali. I have to go into my newborn project. I'm going to go to sites. Now I have to see which one is my Mali site. I want to say, okay, it's this one. And when I click into the site, now look at this. Now the site level is red. Okay, this is how you know you're on the site level. The icon at the top and all of the menu icons on the left have now got the red color. Okay, and again, there's a staff tab, but now this is the staff only for this site. Okay, so I'm going to add Musa here. So right now I didn't have anyone else here, so I'm going to say add new member. But now this person must already exist, otherwise I'm not going to find them here. Okay, so there's Musa. I can give a role. What should be the role here? Is it the fellow or the principal investigator or the study coordinator?
Is data, I think it's data coordinator, Ibrahim?
Data coordinator?
Data.
Okay, so we have clinical studies data manager, for example, that we could use. And then we'll say, we give them managed access and we give them clinical. So let me explain the difference between the two. If you give someone managed access, that means they will be able to manage the site. Okay, so they will be able to manage things that are happening on the red level. And if you give them clinical access, it means they will be able to see participants for the site only. Okay, so most people working on the study will need the clinical access, and then the site coordinator will also need, or the site fellow will also need the managed access. Okay, so I'm adding that. Ibrahim, oh yeah, I should, okay, Ibrahim definitely exists in the study, so I can add him. So let's see. That I must type it. Let's see, Kita. Okay, no, it's not there yet. Okay, let me just add it briefly. So remember, if I want to add a new user from scratch, I first have to go to management. I'll search here just to make sure. And then I'm going to say add new user. Name, surname, email address. Not the from Mali bit is not necessary. Just the email address, and then save, and then add the login over here and save. Okay, so now I must go back to my project. I can either go into newborn screening and click on sites again, or if I now want to go to Mali, I can click directly on the site name on the right hand side and go directly to the red level, which is quicker sometimes. Then go to staff, and now I'm adding them to the site staff. And this is the PI, right? Am I right?
Biostatistician or data coordinator.
Okay, data coordinator, let's do that. Clinical studies data. We have data manager, we have data officer. You can pick whatever you want from that. Hello?
I'm data manager, Annemie, please.
The what? Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Data manager. Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Clinical studies data manager. Okay, then save. Okay, so now when you come to the staff tab, you will always be able to review who has access on that project already. So ideally, you know, the clinical studies data manager, the data officers, the local study coordinator, the site PI, and of course the site fellow all need to be on here. By virtue of adding people to the project site staff, these people can now also view the project level automatically. So it's not necessary to add them in two places. Okay. If I now go to newborn screening level by clicking on the study name, I'm back on the green level. And if I click on staff, I will now find them here. Okay. So that means they will also be able to see what is happening on this level. They will also be able to download the documents that are there, that sort of thing. Okay, I hope that helps clarify how that works. And there's Musa. Musa can also now see this level. So yeah, do we have any particular questions about the users and the user management? It's pretty straightforward, right? I seem to have lost the chat again, but Mario, just interrupt me if we have any
No questions so far.
questions. Okay, now. So this is going to be an important part of the actual fellow's job, is to make sure that everybody who needs access is on there and that sort of thing. And if they need their password reset, they're going to come to the fellow and say, can you log into Edge and give me access? So the reason being, let me show you. When I created Musa, okay, actually, let me show you under management, right? It will say the access type is user. Now, the people who are the fellows and the PIs at the sites will actually have admin level rights so that they can create other users. So that's going to be the main difference. So that we don't want duplication of people creating multiple users for the same person, that sort of thing. So it's best to centralize that per Sparko site, and then that person takes control of the other users for that site. Was there a question? I thought I heard someone, but I wasn't sure. No, I don't see anymore. Right, so of course, what is the other advantage of Edge? So we have now, we've looked at we've got the overview, we've looked at the having different sites associated with the same project, the staff, the documents, and even the workflows. But what is very cool about Edge is that you can also have the patient recruitment information in here for your specific site. So you'll see there's no patients tab down here because I'm on the green level, I'm on the project level. So there's no patient being recruited to the project level. There are only patients being recruited to the site levels. So first I have to go to sites, and then I will be able to go into one of the sites. And then I will suddenly have a tab that says participants. Okay. And the idea is that each site will upload their participants here. Now, the important thing is to understand what is the difference between this and RedCap. So in Edge, we're literally only going to record very few details. And the main thing to record in Edge is going to be who the participant is, so their name, their surname, their contact details, and then their sex and their date of birth, as well as the date when they're recruited onto the study. That's one of the key things. So what it does is the participants identities are private to the site. So only staff who exist on the site level will be able to see them. And that's important because when these participants come to the site, it's important that the people working with them can be sure that they're working with the right participant, they have the right identifier, and the clinical people know who the participants are anyway. So it's quite appropriate for them to have access to a list of who the patients are. But what it does is if all the sites list their participants here, then on the project level, it does an automatic statistics bit where it will count all together how many patients have been screened, recruited, rejected, withdrawn. And there's no participants tab here, so I can't see any individual participants' details, but I can see the overall numbers for the study. And that's going to be a very useful project management tool. It also makes it quick and easy to report on the progress with the recruitment. And there's different types of statistics that the Edge platform works out automatically by using the participants that are captured on the site levels. Okay, so maybe let's just make an example of University of Abuja. Since the chief investigator is from Nigeria, I'm just using this as an example, Ruben. And I want to show you guys how to add a participant, okay? I'm going to go to Participants tab. And it will say now, no patients have been added to this project. To add a patient, the project site must be open. Okay, so please, if you're working in Edge and you get a message from Edge, don't panic. Just read the message carefully and then see if you can figure out from there what to do. So the project site must be open. So where we're going to find out whether the project site is open, we're going to look at the overview page and we're going to see that actually the project site status says project site is in setup. So while the site is in setup, we cannot enroll any patients yet, right? So first, if I'm the fellow for the site, I must change it. I must say now actually the site is now open since, let's say, since yesterday. It was open, and then I'm going to say save. And now when I go to the participants page, I will actually have a button here that says add new participant. Okay, so you're going to say add participant. Then the main thing is that this is going to be a link, not an actual link, but an index kind of that can connect the identity of the participant to the actual main sickle cell identifier that you use at your site. So the local number is going to be the local sickle cell number. So I remember in Tanzania, they had those sickle passports, for example, and they had a number printed on those passports. So that will be their local identifier. So whatever it is that you're using at your site, at least the name, a surname, a date of birth, and a gender. Then there's other information here that you can use, but you don't need to know this information in order to add the participant in the first place. So I'm just going to make up some information here. This is newborn screening, right? So I'm going to say this is a patient that we screened. You can also add their hospital number if the hospital number is different from the, you know, your local sickle cell identifier, then you can add that. And this project doesn't use ARMS, so you can skip that. And then the important thing is to say when when this patient joined the study. So if this patient was screened today, and then I say by which staff member, it's going to default to me because I'm logged in. But the idea is that you can choose one of the people who are listed for the site as the person who screened them. And then if they pass the screening and you are now going to follow them up, then you give them a date for follow-up. Okay, if they don't pass the screening, then you're going to leave this blank. Okay. And then if they don't pass the screening, then what you're going to do is you're going to say that they are off the study. Again, you must give a date, you must give a reason, that sort of thing. I'm not going to do that now. And then you can add a comment. This is for your colleagues at the site. So this is things that they need to know about this participant when they're next, trying to contact them or whatever. It's like maybe the mom works until 6 p.m. every day. So you can only call her on a Saturday, or you can only call her after 7 p.m. in the week, or whatever information there is that you need to communicate to your site team about this participant. You can put it in the comments here. It will give you a little summary of what you've entered so far, and then you can finalize it by saying finish, which I don't want to do now because this is not a real patient. So that's our pretty easy way to add participants. And if you then add people here, like I say, that feeds into the statistics on the project level. So you see, it's not the same information that goes into REDCap really, because in REDCap we want to know things like what is their sickle type, where were they born, what is their tribe, all the things that are required in the CRF are still going to be in REDCap. But the identifying information and the information about the recruitment progress that we need for project management purposes, that stuff is then also in Edge to make the reporting easier. Does that sound okay? Do we have any questions yet?
Nothing that I could see now.
Okay. So there was a lot, right? There was a lot. I want to take you guys back to the beginning. Okay, we mostly worked on the projects tab now, and we worked a little bit on the project site tab, but I want to take you guys back to the home tab. So this is when I first logged in, I came to this page. Now it's important to notice right now, I'm not inside any particular project, I'm just in the system. And I have access to my own profile. If on the top right, I can drop down here, I can go to my profile. And this is where you're going to add all the missing bits of information that we didn't add when we created the user in the first place. Okay, so I can go and add, you don't have to, but you can go and add your title and whatever you want. You can add your contact details, which is nice. So by default, the email will be there that we used to create your username. But some people may want to add their mobile if they're, if they're mostly working via WhatsApp at the site, for example. It makes it easier for people to get in touch with you if they need to. I can also add information about my qualifications, and I can actually do some settings here in terms of what notifications I want to receive from Edge, because it can be a little bit annoying if you get too many notifications, but you also want to make sure that you don't miss anything. So when I click on notifications, I get to this page and it shows me a whole list of things that I've apparently been notified about. And the reason I don't really know about them is because these are internal notifications. So this list of notifications only exists inside Edge at this point. But when I say edit notifications, you'll see that I actually have two options. I have received internal notification and I have received email notification. So if you would like to receive an email notification when someone adds you to a project site, for example, then you can come and make that setting for yourself here. So I just want to look for it quickly. So this one, for example, when notifications when I'm added to a project. So if someone adds me to a new project, I would like to receive an email about that, for example. If I am the lead, the fellow at the lead site for the project, then I may want to know when the project site status is changed, or when a new document is uploaded, I may want to get an email about that. Or that sort of thing. But this is entirely within your control, so each person can come and set this for themselves. But if you don't want to get any emails, that's also fine. You can always see the notifications inside Edge as well. Okay, so all of this was on my profile, and then notifications, right? Now I'm going to go back to home. And the other thing that's on the home page is this big green box in the middle here. Again, don't be afraid to read what it says. It says welcome. It looks like you don't have any items that appear on your home page. To do so, you can click the edit dashboard button in the top right of the screen. If it's your first time using Edge, we recommend a quick tour. So you can actually watch that as well if you want. And you can get familiar with the features and functions by watching videos under the support section. So there's support at the top. So let me show you quickly how to edit the dashboard and make it look a little bit more user-friendly. I'm going to click edit dashboard, and each person can decide for themselves like what they want to see on the dashboard. So for me, I like to see the news feed. I like to have the add participants button. This is just like a shortcut. And at the moment I've only got one, but it's often useful to have like last viewed projects. And what it does is it now creates these little widgets down here, and I can actually drag and drop them and, you know, reorganize them however I want. I'll make this one a bit bigger. So this is the news feed, and it actually shows you some tweets from the main Edge consortium. This one just gives me a button, and then this one shows me the last projects that I worked on. So now next time when I log in, I'm not going to see the big green box. I'm only going to see my widgets that I've added myself, which is a bit more user-friendly. Yeah, and I've got this button for add participant that I can do. Maybe something like that. Oh, so you can play around with it and see what you find useful. But you'll probably do this after you've started working in the projects a little bit, and you will realize what are the things that you need to have quick access to on your dashboard. So yeah, that is my basic story for now. I did flag a few things that we can talk about maybe in a separate section after people have had a chance to log in and play around with the system for themselves, especially the new people who've never seen this before. So we can talk about using the calendar. We can talk about how we can actually upload participants from the recruitment logs that we get from the sites, how to perform cross-checks between participants in Edge and in RedCap, and that is to help sort out data quality issues. I can also show the people who are going to be the admins for each site how to add new sites or satellite sites as required. And I can talk in a bit more detail about how to create the new workflows as required. But I really think we should let people familiarize themselves and at least have a login before we go into that much detail. So maybe next week, if people are available, we can get into that. Okay, so I am going to leave it at that. Thanks, Mario or Vicky, back to you.
Thanks, Annemie. I'll hand over to Vicky.
Great, thank you, Annemie. So, and Mario, so I'm just wondering whether everyone is okay with us meeting weekly so that we can iron out things and go through some of the documents. You might need to check with your PIs to see if this is okay. And also the appropriate time, would this around this time work? I know there is a webinar next week as well, so we just need to make sure it doesn't clash, but I'm not sure if this time is okay, and then we can send out agenda items for next week soon after, so that we actually start using the platform. And
Oh, we lost Vicky's sound.
oh, can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you again.
Oh, okay, great. I just wanted to check with people if weekly meetings are okay, even if it's for 30 minutes, just to touch base and make sure that we're using the platform and discuss any other documents that need to be uploaded or, checked. And we move on like that, and we'll try and make sure that we align some of our activities to the training that has been proposed by CC. So I'm not sure if everyone is happy with that, or you would like to touch base with your PIs. Can we send a calendar invite, and those who can't attend can let us know and we record? I'm not sure what everyone thinks. Great. I think, okay, weekly meetings, fantastic. Thank you, Lawson, and thank you, Mike. So Natasha, that's a good question. So we are going to cover that next week. We are hoping that we can cover that next week so that we actually see how the different platforms talk, speak to each other. So a request is that before the next meeting, we will send templates after Nigeria is approved of the site personnel, contacts, and delegation, just to make sure we've got all that sorted. And I think Annemie already showed you how to add a satellite to Edge. So we would also would appreciate it if you can add all your satellite sites to Edge before the next meeting. We'll also share like a recruitment log with which you can start, giving feedback or just letting us know how it is. And next week, I think we will go into the data integration, the CRFs, and also some of the qualitative information. But we'll send an email before the end of this week with agenda items once we have touched base with the Nigeria team. And we are hoping that as we progress, the Nigeria team will then be actually taking over, the meeting management, like the meeting kind of coordination, since they are more familiar with our documents that will be required for the research projects and will support in the background. I hope that's okay.
Vicky, I think Takutsa had a question.
Yes, Taku, sorry. Oh.
Thanks, Vicky. Thanks, Annemie and Mario. So in light of what Vicky is saying in preparation for next week's meeting, can I just check, Annemie, who at our site is able to add users? Because currently we don't quite have institutional emails. Our new fellow certainly doesn't have one. So I'm not sure if by the time we meet next week, they will have one. And even if they do, somebody needs to add them to the site. So I just wanted to check.
Yeah, at the moment, I don't have anyone for Zambia. And I don't think I have the site for Zim.
I'm in Edge, I know, but I can't access the management. So it means I can't add people. So I just wanted to
just see. So you've got user. I'm going to change you now already too, because that should be, yours should be admin. But then who else is from your site? Let me just look at them up quickly on
I'm sure
the,
Dr. Kuona is a user because she has an institutional but I don't know if she has admin rights.
sorry, who's the, what's the surname?
Patient Kuona, Kuona.
Kuona, okay. Yeah, she's there. I'm gonna make her admin as well for the site.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys, if there's someone who doesn't have any access to Edge already, then just email PIDA. And if there's someone who has access but doesn't have the management tab, and they should have the management tab, then you can also email PIDA, and then she can fix that for us as we go.
Okay. I just remembered another question, sorry. Can one person be in two projects? Like in my case, I see in Edge we have Zim and Zambia split. So I'm currently
Yes, of course. Yeah. You can be
Okay, so
assigned to more than one site. Yeah, that's no problem. You
okay,
must
so
then just switch between the sites. So if you,
okay.
you know, if you're looking at Zim site, you'll see Zim patients. And if you're looking at ZAM site, you'll see ZAM patients. But if you're on the project level, then it will look the same anyway.
Okay, so if you could please add me to the Zambia site too,
to both,
so that
okay.
I'm also able to add the people for that site and switch between the two.
Okay, I currently don't have, what is the Zim hospital called? Because I don't have it, I think. Can you type it for me in the chat, then I can just add it.
Okay. So I've typed in the one site that we're using, the first site, but for the newborn screening, we plan to do it in two sites. So that will be Panyatwa and Mutoko Hospital. I don't know if it means we'll be entering them separately or...
Well, yeah, this is what I'm going to show, I think, next week is if your main site is Panyatwa, then how you can add satellite sites if necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've typed both in.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
Yeah, so I think just for risk management, Annemie, would it be okay if we've got at least two people, one the fellow and either the study coordinator or the data manager, whoever is interested in also being like a manager for the site, just for risk management.
And maybe that can even be indicated on that template that you're sending around, like whether that person should be the admin for Edge, just so we have a confirmation.
Fantastic, thank you.
On
yeah,
the,
I think
you know,
that's
that
a great idea.
delegation roles thing that we're talking about.
Yes, yes.
Great,
so great. I think I'll send that tomorrow morning, just so that we make sure we've got approvals from Nigeria before we send it out. Yeah, great. That sounds good. And I think we also will be getting approvals for the agenda for next week from Nigeria before that's circulated as well. So bear with us as we just, liaise with the lead team on this, and also with CC to make sure that they're on the same page. Great. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there are other questions. I saw a question from Lawson about the contracts. I did see quite a bit of movement today with regard to the contracts. Our contracts office is very, how can I say? Because of the NIH grants, they don't just create contracts. They need a lot of motivation for that, and they need a lot of liaison with finance and liaison with the NIH, because as you might be aware, all the sites were not sub-grants of ours, and for them, they only implement what was in the proposal. So for us to change that, it has taken a lot of time. So I saw a lot of movement. There are a lot of contracts now coming through. PIDA was not in today, but as soon as she comes in, Lawson, you should expect your contracts coming through soon. I think I saw about 4 of them coming through. Yeah, Great. So I think that's in order. And I also didn't want to preempt some of the stuff because I think it needs to be sent to the PI so that the PI approves first before we discuss during our next meeting, hopefully. Great. I'm not sure if any of the PIs are around or CC, if they want to comment, or anyone else just wants to comment or mention anything. Please, you're welcome before we close the meeting. Yeah, maybe we'll liaise with CC, probably it's Upendo, right? And Josephine, who might be managers at the CC site. Great.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, okay. Welcome, Upendo. You're going to talk?
No, please proceed. Please proceed.
No, okay. I was just going to call on you. Please proceed.
Sorry, Vic, I did step away for a minute. Could you repeat? What did you ask?
No, I just wanted to confirm, it's probably yourself and Josephine who will be managers on the Edge platform, right, from CC? So that, yeah, great. So, and I also just wanted to check if you've got anything to comment or say before we close the meeting, or anyone else wants to comment or ask a question. But I think things are getting clearer, especially with the contracts coming out and us going through each document and making sure it's uploaded on the platform so that everyone is aware which one is the latest version. And this will be recorded as well so that people can access it at a later stage.
No comment from me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. Great. So I think, yeah, we can close the meeting. Thank you everyone for coming. Lovely to meet everyone and to have everyone on board. Please feel free to make suggestions, comments, as this is more of a knowledge kind of exchange meeting. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.